Paige Bueckers, she ain't gonna be Caitlyn Clark. Not now, not today, not ever. Sorry, it ain't gonna happen.
Why hasn't Middle America given Paige Bueckers the Caitlyn Clark treatment?
Well, the ratings are out. How much Paige Bueckers is moving the needle? There's already statistical evidence. No, she is not moving the needle in women's sports or women's basketball nearly to the effect of Caitlyn Clark.
Paige Bueckers has had one of the best careers in the history of women's college basketball. And looking at these ratings for the women's tournament, it is abundantly clear Paige Bueckers might be a star, but she's not a draw.
Forget the headlines, the endless debates, the manufactured rivalries. There's a question swirling that needs a brutally honest answer. Is Paige Bueckers really in the same conversation as Caitlyn Clark? The media wants you to think so, desperately trying to spin a narrative. But the reality? It's not just different, it's a chasm. And understanding why is key to seeing the real landscape of women's basketball right now.
And a lot of people are saying, oh, everything is she was Caitlyn before Caitlyn, she's better than Caitlyn and all this stuff. That kind of stopped in the media. Caitlyn Clark put up better numbers in the Wnba than Paige did in college.
Paige Bueckers is coming in, and she's going to be a driving force.
Clark is going against Paige and Dejanay. ESPN today, when they were talking about Paige, one of them says, I think Paige will be a good player this year, but I'm not expecting a Caitlyn-like impact, and that's an unfair bar to set. Dallas Wings using the promo poster of Paige Bueckers and Caitlyn Clark to hype that game up.
Caitlyn Clark was clearly heterosexual, handled herself with grace, just balled out and competitive as hell between the lines, but very nice, subdued, and hung out with her boyfriend off the court. That is a formula for disaster with the angry lesbians of the WNBA, particularly when you're Caitlyn Clark and you dominate the scene, you dominate the ads, you dominate being on television and everything about television.
You hear the comparisons constantly. The two biggest stars of their college generation, both entering the WNBA. Sure, Paige Bueckers is undeniably talented, a former Player of the Year with flashes of brilliance. But let's cut through the noise and look at the actual measurable impact. One player arrived in the professional league and immediately shifted the earth, drawing unprecedented attention, setting records, and becoming a cultural phenomenon overnight. The other? Not so much. It's not about diminishing Paige's skill. It's about acknowledging a level of influence and performance that is, frankly, in a league of its own. The idea that they are equals, or even close rivals for the top spot, simply doesn't align with the facts, the numbers, or what we've seen unfold. This isn't an unfair bar to set. It's just looking at who actually moves the needle on a historic scale.
2025 WNBA draft averaged 1.5, the second highest ratings ever. So its peak was 1 million viewers less than the average for the Caitlyn Clark experience. The viewership literally got cut in half. Hell of a lot of people said, Caitlyn Clark's gone, I'm gonna do something else with my day. And of course, last year, Caitlyn Clark came out. The WNBA saw its far and away biggest rating ever for the WNBA draft.
That may not be the case for Bueckers. For those of you wondering if Paige's acceptance into the WNBA will be different than Caitlyn, delusional fan base that follows Caitlyn Clark disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go into that league and tear it apart.
The Caitlyn Clark effect is real. There's evidence of that in college women's basketball ratings, and there's evidence of that now in the 2025 WNBA draft on ESPN delivered the second most viewed WNBA draft ever, averaging 1.25 million viewers. The spin is real. Paige Bueckers ain't Caitlyn Clark and will never be on the court. ESPN continuing their Caitlyn Clark erasure agenda.
Let's talk facts, because numbers don't lie, and Caitlyn Clark's numbers redefine what was thought possible. This isn't just a great player, this is a transcendent force. She didn't just break records, she smashed them, leaving entire eras in her dust. We're talking about the NCAA's all-time leading scorer, male or female. Think about that for a second. Not only that, she's the only player in college basketball history to post multiple 40-point triple-doubles. Multiple. Her stat lines weren't just good, they were ridiculous. Dropping 30 points felt like a routine warm-up. She dished out over 8 assists per game, demonstrating vision rarely seen. And her shooting range? Steph Curry territory? Her passing? Magic Johnson vision. She didn't just play the game, she rewrote the script while everyone else was still figuring out the introduction. She dragged a program to national prominence almost single-handedly through sheer, undeniable performance, game after game, year after year. When the pressure was highest, in crunch time, the final minutes, the biggest moments, she took over. This wasn't potential. This was proven, consistent, unparalleled dominance that culminated in shattering records that stood for decades.
Caitlyn Clark got beat up last year because Caitlyn Clark was everything the women who she stood on the shoulders of weren't. She was a nice, straight girl that balled hard, had a different game, and it pissed everybody off, including the little gals on ESPN. The Monica McNutts and the Chimmies of the world and all the other clowns at ESPN that have tried to paint Caitlyn Clark as popular for one reason, and that being a white girl.
We want to see Caitlyn Clark, and we want to see Paige Bueckers.
And as long as she comes in the league and she joins the likes of Dejanay Carrington and all these others that are always promoting some kind of activism, she's not going to know. Why? Because sports fans want to watch damn sport.
Now, look at Paige Bueckers. She had a blazing start to her college career, absolutely. That freshman season showed incredible promise. But since then, her journey has been a different story, one marked by a frustrating roller coaster. Injuries have plagued her, leading to long stretches away from the court and inconsistent performances when she returned. She hasn't consistently hit that elite scoring average of 20-plus points over multiple seasons, the kind of sustained offensive output that defines true superstardom in college basketball. While Clark was out there putting up historic numbers night after night, leading her team, and staying remarkably durable given her workload, Paige faced setbacks that undoubtedly impacted her ability to build that same level of consistent, dominant statistical profile. Her assists, while solid, haven't approached Clark's playmaking volume. And when the game is on the line, in those do-or-die moments, the narrative hasn't been that Paige takes over in the same undeniable game-altering way that became Caitlyn's trademark. The reality of their college careers, when judged purely on sustained production and availability, shows a clear difference at the very top tier of historical impact.
Eaton Thomas contrasts how white Americans view the two based on stark differences in speaking out against racial injustice. Quote, perhaps it's because, unlike Clark, Bueckers has always been outspoken about issues off the court, Thomas wrote in a Guardian article. At the 2021 ESPYs, Bueckers was named the College Athlete of the Year. She used her acceptance speech to celebrate and honor black women in particular. In Bueckers' famous ESPYs speech, she used her platform to recognize those who didn't get the same recognition as her, specifically highlighting black women. While black America cheered Bueckers, it seemed like mainstream white America, a demographic once viewed her as, in her words, a media darling, weren't signaling out her praises. Is it a coincidence, or maybe because her injuries have made people forget her greatness as an athlete? But she's back from injury, and now why aren't people focused on Bueckers as they were Clark last year when she was tearing up college basketball? Maybe if Bueckers had delivered a more vanilla ESPY speech, things would be different. This is a completely embarrassing article. Caitlyn Clark is a worldwide phenomenon whose playing style has drawn a level of hype that hasn't been seen in basketball in a decade.
Want concrete, undeniable proof of who actually moves the needle? Look no further than the cold, hard numbers from the Wnba drafts. When Caitlyn Clark declared for the 2024 draft, it wasn't just a draft, it was a national television spectacle. Over 2.5 million people tuned in, with viewership peaking north of 3 million. It shattered previous Wnba draft records by an enormous margin, turning a typically niche event into must-see TV. It was a cultural moment, the undeniable start of a new era driven by one player's arrival. Now fast forward to 2025. Paige Bueckers enters the draft, surrounded by plenty of media hype and pre-draft buzz. But when the numbers came in, the viewership tanked. It pulled in just over 1.2 million viewers. That's not a small drop. That's a cliff dive. The audience was literally cut in half compared to the previous year. No amount of media spin or agenda pushing could hide that fact. It was undeniable proof that viewers weren't tuning in just for a draft. They were tuning in for the Caitlyn Clark draft. The audience voted with their remotes, and the difference couldn't be clearer.
I'm looking forward to seeing Caitlyn Clark play. That are mad she's on national TV. They're going to brutalize her again.
Caitlyn Clark is the GOAT.
She signed my jersey. So happy, I'm crying. I'm so happy.
happy. This is the best day ever.
Caitlyn Clark effect seems to be crazier than year one.
I love watching her score and just everything about her.
They went the extra mile just to watch her play here.
This is great news for women's basketball, period.
And the impact extends far beyond just draft night viewership. When Caitlyn Clark hits the court, the entire ecosystem of women's basketball responds. Her games became appointment viewing, breaking viewership records not just for the WNBA, but even topping NBA games airing simultaneously on major networks. Every major network scrambled for broadcast rights. Why? Because Caitlyn Clark means eyeballs. She turned WNBA games into the hottest ticket in town. Arenas that once had empty seats were suddenly packed to the rafters. Ticket resale prices exploded into the hundreds, even thousands. The Indiana Fever saw a nearly 90% increase in road attendance and a staggering 265% jump in home attendance in just 1 year, purely because she was on the roster. She didn't just boost interest, she created unprecedented visible demand. She is the definition of a market force, drawing fans from every demographic, inspiring people to travel just to see her play. This wasn't just hype. It was measurable, tangible dominance, proving she is the chosen one for driving interest and revenue right now.
She just brings so much passion to the game, and look at all these people that just want to come and see her.
It is no secret that the Indiana Fever are the most popular team in the WNBA. It is good for the entire WNBA.
You can't ignore the constant push from certain corners of the media and commentary world. There's a narrative being aggressively promoted, attempting to frame Paige Bueckers as the true heir apparent, the right kind of star, or to manufacture a genuine rivalry where none exists in terms of sheer impact. This isn't happening because Paige's on-court performance has reached Clark's level. It's happening because there seems to be a clear agenda at play. The establishment media, perhaps uncomfortable with how organically and independently Caitlyn Clark rose to such massive prominence without fitting neatly into pre-approved boxes, appears desperate to rewrite the script. They didn't discover her, they couldn't control her narrative entirely, and she simply dominated based on her game. So instead, they try to balance the scales, overhyping another player. They attempt to elevate Bueckers, sometimes framing her moments off the court as more significant than Clark's earth-shattering on-court achievements, in an effort to create a counterpoint, a different face for the game. It's a transparent attempt to shape public perception, but as the viewership numbers and attendance figures show, fans aren't necessarily buying the manufactured story.
If I was the WNBA, I would have considered a separate television package to a network on just Caitlyn Clark games. I would have had two packages, the WNBA package, and then a separate, let's say 15 to 18 game Caitlyn Clark package.
366,000. A new record for a female athlete. Caitlyn is the needle. Smashed the old record held by Serena by $100,000.
And for Caitlyn Clark to have the awareness to drive the eyeballs there, you have to give her so much credit.
So why does Caitlyn Clark resonate so deeply with fans? Why does she drive that insane level of engagement? It seems to boil down to a connection with the game itself and a perceived authenticity. Fans respond to her exciting style of play, the logo threes that echo Steph Curry, the court vision compared to Magic Johnson, the sheer volume of scoring and assisting. There's a narrative that she simply focuses on playing hard, letting her game speak for itself without engaging in perceived social signaling or playing a victim role, which some fans find relatable and refreshing. Contrast this with the perception that some of Paige's most publicized moments haven't come from buzzer beaters or championship performances, but from carefully curated soundbites or symbolic gestures off the court. This isn't to dismiss the importance of those moments, but in terms of driving pure mass sporting viewership and adoration, performance on the biggest stage speaks loudest. Add to that the undeniable challenges Clark faced upon entering the WNBA. The increased physicality, the public scrutiny, the seemingly targeted hard fouls and verbal jabs. She walked into a storm and kept playing. While Paige, through no fault of her own, hasn't faced that same level of overt hostility on the court. Fans see that resilience, that game-first attitude, and it creates a powerful connection that manufactured hype simply cannot replicate. Greatness, in the eyes of the fans who buy tickets and tune in, is earned on the hardwood, not built in a press release or a carefully worded speech.
Who's going to be the next face of the NBA? We don't get to decide that. The marketplace decides that. The people have chosen Caitlyn Clark. They enjoy watching her play, her style, her energy, her shot. Whether it's because her game mirrors one of the greatest players in the NBA in Steph Curry or not, I don't know what it is. It's an intangible thing, right? Yes, we can say she's a dog. Okay, there's been other dogs. Okay, she's a great shooter. There's been other great shooters. She has it. She's got the thing.
She is not only the needle mover, she is the needle. But at this point, it's pretty clear Caitlyn Clark is driving the bus and driving the sales.
Let's stop pretending this is a close call or a genuine rivalry built on head-to-head competition at the highest level. The truth isn't complicated, and it's visible everywhere you look, on the scoreboard, in the arenas, and in the cold, hard data. Paige Bueckers, while a very good player, is simply not in the same tier as Caitlyn Clark when it comes to overall impact, consistent elite performance, market power, or cultural significance right now. She can't match the buzz, she can't match the numbers, and no amount of media pushing or manufactured narratives will change that fundamental reality. Caitlyn Clark didn't need ESPN or any other outlet to build her into a phenomenon. She did it through her game, her records, and her sheer force of will on the court. She let her play speak, and the entire world stopped to listen. While Clark was packing arenas and making history before she even went pro, drawing millions to watch her every move, Paige is still, in many ways, operating in that massive shadow.
Caitlyn Clark has taken women's college basketball by storm. It's because she's white, and all of her fans are white, and they're all racist.
I'm looking forward to seeing Caitlyn Clark play. That are mad she's on national TV. They're going to brutalize her again.
The comparison was never truly equal, and the gap is only widening. Caitlyn Clark isn't just ahead. She's defining the path forward, setting a new standard for what popularity and impact look like in women's sports. While some scramble to create alternative narratives, history is already being written, one record broken, one arena packed, one mind-boggling shot at a time.
They like Caitlyn Clark because she's not a victim, because she doesn't seem to be angry. And so they find her relatable. She's not playing with anger. She's not playing with a sense of entitlement. And yes, people find that relatable. She shoots logo threes, passes the ball like Magic Johnson, scores a lot of points, leads the league in assists. She's a great, great player, and she plays and shoots and releases the ball like Steph Curry. So there's the attraction to the exciting style of play.
If you see the reality, if you understand who truly changed the game and continues to drive it forward, and you're done with the media spin, drop a CC all the way in the comments below. Because right now, there is only one face dominating the conversation in women's basketball, and her name is Caitlyn Clark.